Welcome everyone, glad you are here. Today we will explore how Stirling numbers power computation problems, from counting hidden partitions and surjections to preferential rankings with ties. All through this series, we have been building a Stirling toolkit, and today we get to see how it actually wins points on real computation problems.
So this is like the final boss level where we see if we can recognize when a problem is secretly about Stirling numbers during an exam?
Last time we proved the big conceptual result. The two Stirling families form inverse matrices, so they let us move back and forth between power sums and falling factorials. We have stories for all of them now. Partitions of sets, surjections as k factorial times s of n, comma k, cycles of permutations from the first kind, and even discrete calculus tricks.
It feels like a menu of interpretations I can choose from depending on how the problem is worded.
Today, we will push that menu on two problems, one at roughly AIME level, and one that is closer to a Putnam-style counting problem. The hardest part in the contest is not the algebra, it is recognizing a hidden Stirling pattern quickly enough to use it.
So I should be listening for phrases like non-empty groups or onto functions and immediately think of Stirling numbers.
Exactly. And by the end of this lesson, you should feel that recognition almost automatically. Imagine a contest problem that sounds like a story about prizes and bags, but underneath it is just a partitions and surjections question.
Those are the ones that get me because I start drawing cases instead of spotting that it is really a Stirling number situation.
The story starts with 7 distinct prizes, so each prize can be tracked individually rather than as identical balls. We are putting them into 4 bags that are identical, and every bag has to get at least one prize, which is exactly the language of partitions into non-empty, unlabeled blocks.
Right, identical bags and non-empty makes me think S of 7, 4 right away.
After the prizes are in bags, we hand each bag to a different person, and now the recipients are labeled, so we are just permuting the 4 bags among 4 distinct people. That two-step pattern, first partition, then assign labels, is our classic surjection bridge. Partitions counted by S of n, k, then multiplied by k factorial.
So, on an exam, I should translate this story in my head to partitions of 7 items into 4 blocks, then 4 factorial labelings.
Symbolically, our answer has to be 4 factorial times S of 7, 4, and the only remaining work is to evaluate S of 7, 4 efficiently. Instead of memorizing random Stirling values, we lean on the recurrence to climb the triangle up to S of 7, 4.
I remember there was a recurrence, but I do not always see the fastest way to use it under time pressure.
Here is the key recurrence. To partition n items into k blocks, either the new element starts a new block or joins one of the existing k blocks. We can assume we know the small table up to n equals 5, where s of 5, 2, s of 5, 3, and s of 5, 4 are standard values. Then we apply the recurrence once to move from row 5 to row 6 and compute s of 6, 3 and s of 6, 4. Finally, we use those row 6 values in the recurrence one more time to reach s of 7, 4 on row 7.
So it is really just a short path through the triangle instead of filling the whole thing.
This path gives us the exact value s of 7, 4 equals 350, meaning 350 partitions of a 7-element set into 4 blocks. Numerically, we plug in the row 5 values, then compute s of 6, 3 as 90s of 6, 4 as 65, and finally s of 7, 4 as 350.
Nice, that is quick enough that I could do it on scratch paper in an AIME time frame.
Now we can plug this into the overall expression 4 factorial times s of 7, 4 when we compare with the second method. A powerful contest move is to solve a problem two completely different ways and see that the answers match.
So now we're count the same prize distribution but without mentioning Stirling numbers directly?
If we think of each prize assignment as a function from a 7-element set to a 4-element set, the distributions where everyone gets something are exactly the surjective functions counted by this inclusion-exclusion sum. So every way to put prizes in bags and then hand bags to people corresponds to a function where each of the 4 people is hit at least once. Inclusion-exclusion says we start with all functions, then subtract those where at least one person gets no bag, then add bag overlaps, and so on. If J specific people get nothing, we choose them in 4 choose J ways, and then all 7 prizes must go to the remaining 4 minus J people.
So the alternating signs in the sum are just the usual pattern of inclusion-exclusion across choices of people who are left out.
Because both methods are counting exactly the same distributions, this surjection count has to match 4 factorial times s of 7, 4. Evaluating the sum gives 16,384 minus 8,748 plus 768 minus 4, which simplifies to 8,400.
And earlier we had 4 factorial times s of 7, 4, which is 24 times 350, also 8,400. So the sanity check passes.
On an exam, I might use whichever method feels faster, but it is comforting to know they secretly agree through the identity between surjections and Stirling numbers. Now, let us shift to a ranking problem that, at first glance, does not mention partitions at all.
Rankings with ties sound like sports standings, not like Stirling numbers, so I am curious where they will show up.
We define A of n to be the number of weak orderings of n distinct competitors where ties are allowed, but the relative order of tie blocks still matters. For one competitor, there is just one outcome, and for 2, there are 3 possibilities: player A ahead, player B ahead, or a tie.
So A of 2 equals 3 matches my intuition about win, lose, or draw.
With 3 competitors, we can group outcomes into those with no ties, those with a single tie pair, and the all-tie case where everyone is equal. When you add up all the patterns, you get 13 outcomes, which is the first interesting value in the sequence called the Fubini, or ordered Bell numbers.
I like that this is a concrete small case I can picture instead of diving straight into abstract formulas.
There are 6 strict orderings with no ties, 3 choices of a tied pair times 2 choices for who is ahead of the pair for another 6 and 1 3-way tie, giving 13 total. The magic step is to notice that each ranking naturally breaks contestants into tie groups that look exactly like a set partition.
So the number of distinct rank levels in a finish should become the k in S of n, k somehow.
First, we focus on those outcomes where there are exactly k different finish positions, like first, second, and third, regardless of which players are tied. If we ignore who finishes earlier or later, we are just partitioning the n competitors into k non-empty tie groups, which is counted by S of n, k. Then we decide which tie group is first, which is second, and so on down to last, which is simply a permutation of the k groups.
That matches the same pattern as surjections, where we had a partition and then labeled the blocks.
So for fixed k, we have S of n, k, ways to form the groups, times k factorial, ways to order them, and then we add up over all possible values of k. This gives the clean identity A of n equals the sum over k from 1 to n of k factorial times S of n, k. And plugging in n equals 3, reproduces the 13 we just counted by hand.
So preferential rankings are just ordered set partitions, and the formula is literally counting by the number of blocks.
Once you have a closed form, like a of n as a sum over k factorial times s of n comma k, you can both compute values and derive generating functions.
I have seen these Fubini numbers in tables, but I did not realize they came directly from Stirling numbers.
To get a feel for the sequence, we can plug Stirling numbers from the small triangle into our formula for a of n at n equals 4 and 5. The resulting numbers are already fairly large, 75 for 4 competitors and 541 for 5 competitors. This sequence is known as the ordered Bell numbers or Fubini numbers, and it appears in Olympiad and Putnam-style problems about rankings and weak orders.
So knowing the Stirling connection gives me a way to rederive them instead of memorizing yet another table.
Even better, the exponential generating function for a of n drops out instantly once you remember the generating function for s of n comma k. Using s of 4, 1 equals 1, s of 4, 2 equals 7, s of 4, 3 equals 6, and s of 4, 4 equals 1, we get a of 4 equals 75. Similarly, plugging in the Stirling numbers in row 5 gives a of 5 as 1 plus 30 plus 150 plus 240 plus 120, which totals 541. For the exponential generating function, we swap the sums, use that the sum over n of s of n, comma k times x to the n over n factorial equals the quantity e to the x minus 1 to the k over k factorial, and then multiply by k factorial, so the factorials cancel. What remains is a geometric series in the quantity e to the x minus 1, which sums to 1 over 2 minus e to the x, the classic generating function for preferential arrangements.
So if a problem mentions that 1 over 2 minus e to the x generating function, I should think of ordered partitions and this a of n formula.
Let us zoom out and see the whole Stirling landscape we have built and how it fits into contest problem spotting.
I want a mental checklist I can run through when I see words like partition onto or cycles in a problem.
First, remember the core meanings s of n comma k for partitions into k blocks k factorial times s of n comma k for surjections or labeled boxes, and absolute s of n comma k for permutations with k cycles. Second, you have tools, recurrences to move around the triangles, inclusion, exclusion to enforce non-emptiness or onto conditions, and discrete calculus expansions using falling factorials. Third, the duality says S and S are inverses, so you can switch between descriptions in terms of powers and in terms of falling factorials when that makes sums easier. Finally, your recognition checklist. Non-empty unlabeled groups scream S of n, k onto, or everyone gets at least one screams k factorial times s of n, k, and cycle structure screams absolute s of n, k.
That is exactly the kind of pattern spotting I want in my head for Olympiad and AIME problems.
Let us close with a quick practice on A of 4 and a reflection on problem recognition.
I want to see that I can go from Stirling numbers to an actual ranking count on my own.
First, as practice, use the formula for A of n with the Stirling numbers in row 4 to get A of 4. Then, connect that number to actual rankings with ties. Second, think about what words or structures in a problem would tip you off that it secretly wants s of n, k, or k factorial times s of n, k.
For me, phrases like identical boxes but each must be non-empty or functions that are onto are now big flags.
And as a take-home challenge, try computing a of 6 from the formula and check that it matches the coefficient from the exponential generating function 1 over 2 minus e to the x. Walking through the solution, we use s of 4, 1 equals 1, s of 4, 2 equals 7, s of 4, 3 equals 6, and s of 4, 4 equals 1, which gives a of 4 equal to 75.
So that 75 is the total number of possible rankings with ties for 4 labeled competitors.
If you group those 75 rankings by how many distinct rank levels they have, you get 1 with everyone tied, 14 with exactly 2 levels, 36 with 3 levels, and 24 strict orderings with 4 levels.
It is reassuring that the combinatorial breakdown 1 plus 14 plus 36 plus 24 matches the Stirling-based calculation exactly.
If you can move comfortably between these stories and the Stirling formulas, you are in great shape for Olympiad and contest problems that hide this structure. Thanks for watching this. Subscribe to Thinking in Math channel for this and other interesting math topics. And we always welcome your feedbacks. Leave your questions and suggestions in the comments.